Good afternoon, Sportingbet customers. Actually, good evening from Barcelona. How are you all? I hope you've enjoyed a weekend of hectic football and one or two bad wins. In my case, I earned some money because I backed Chelsea to beat Manchester City 2-1. Wasn't that right? I got it right, so there you are. It doesn't mean that I'll get it right all the time. In fact, I probably get it more wrong than right. But anyway, let's have a look at some of the games of the weekend. Started in La Liga, and starting at a game that in previous years you would say it could be equal, and it probably won't be, but I'll tell you why. Not because of what some people are saying, that the Spanish league is not competitive, but because it has in game one of the top teams in the world. For me, the second team in the world, and yes, that's Real Madrid. They play in Sevilla, and it's not the Sevilla of Juan de Ramos, it's not the Sevilla of Caparrós. It's a Sevilla that's trying to evolve from a 4-4-2 team to one that actually plays the ball a bit more, but also uses direct football. A mixture that takes time to gel. Marcelino hasn't found the right key yet, so he's using a midfield of three, which at the moment it guarantees not to concede many goals, but creatively they suffer. Sevilla is intelligent tactically, so they'll be able to do what you have to do against Real Madrid, which is trying to keep the ball, be patient, try not to concede, and trying to not allow them to counter-attack you. Real Madrid beat Ponferradina in midweek in the Cup, so they're trying to build again some confidence that I'm sure they lost against Barcelona. This Real Madrid is made to beat absolutely everybody in the world. I've got no doubt of that, with the exception of Barcelona. They were too rigid in the Clásico. They just didn't change anything depending on the weaknesses of Barcelona, even though in the first 25 minutes they actually were very strong and defended high up. It was when they had the ball that just didn't do enough, and it got to the minute 50 or so when Barcelona started gelling that just Real Madrid didn't have answers. So they're gonna go, I'm pretty sure, on a run of victories again, and in my eyes Real Madrid are still favourites to win the title. I asked Jose Mourinho in the press conference if he felt that he hadn't played Barcelona the way that they should have played, if they ignored the fact that they were always in superiority in the midfield, and he disagreed with what I said, but in any case he insisted on one thing: it depends on them to win La Liga. They beat Sevilla, they end up the season 3 points ahead of Barcelona, and I just think that Barcelona is a team for the big games. In the big games they will always win. Back them, because they're actually better than anybody and they know how to react to anything that comes from a game. This is a fantastic football team. Real Madrid, on the other hand, going back to Barcelona, in the small games they may still suffer. So far they have. So they've got to prove us that actually in the small games they also have the hunger and the intensity that you need to beat the smaller sides in La Liga. So we will see. But let's go to the Premier League now, and we've got on Sunday, for instance, Queenspark Rangers versus Manchester United. Queenspark Rangers, a team that I know everything about because the producer of Spanish football in Sky Sports actually is a Queenspark Rangers fan, and we get to hear everything about it. But one thing that he hasn't mentioned, and I had a look at some of the notes, if you allow me to have a look, is that actually they don't score a lot, especially at home. They've been dropping points. In fact, is it a Loftus Road? They've won only just one game, and they've only scored 6 goals, which is the fewest in the league. Yes, they beat Chelsea in very strange circumstances, but they are meeting Manchester United. So you would think, yeah, 3 points to Manchester United. The problem is, you see a Manchester United struggling in the midfield. There's only Carrick and Giggs that are natural midfielders left. The rest are injured, and also they haven't scored more than one away goal in the league since the 5-0 win at Bolton. Some might not say that was the 10th of September, and since then you're not surprised that now, thinking in hindsight, that they struggle in the Champions League. They should have gone to the next run, but this is not a team that is hitting all cylinders, as everybody knows, and the problem is they don't create the chances either, and they concede chances. So it's going to be much tighter than people would have thought at the beginning of the season. So again, if you allow me to have a look at some of the notes, how about, and the 2.5 goals priced at 21.20 at Sportingbet. that probably is the best bet available for that kind of game, perhaps. Another one, Aston Villa Liverpool, and you know Liverpool have only lost, is it 1 in 13 games? So you don't realise, but they are picking the points. Aston Villa have been disappointing in the last month or so, but they managed to get a good victory against Bolton. So perhaps this is a game to get 3 points and continue on that form. But if you look at the meetings of the two sides in the last few games, it's been, in fact, in the last 5 meetings at Villa Park between the two of them, they've had only 5 goals scored. So you've got that in mind. You've got the fact that Liverpool have only scored 8 on the road and Villa have conceded only 7 at home. And also, got very good notes here, that Liverpool haven't scored more than 2 goals since the 3-1 versus Bolton in the 27th of August. And what does that tell you? That it's probably going to be a low scoring affair, number one. And possibly, how about a draw? I see Liverpool sometimes struggle to make their advantages count in games, and I see them sometimes that when the other team scores, they just don't create enough chances to win these kind of games. It would be disappointing for Dalglish. I'm sure he counts on 3 points, but I wonder if this would be a 1-1 draw. And how about then third Premier League game, Manchester City versus Arsenal? And that's a game I'm looking forward to seeing, of course, at the weekend, because I want to see how they react to the defeat against Chelsea. It was a strange game. I was at Stamford Bridge, a strange game in the sense that Chelsea played deeper than they had been, say, a month ago, but at the same block, as Villas-Boas calls it, medium block, with not that much space behind the centre-backs that we've seen against Newcastle and against Valencia. Well, City started very strongly, but then they disappointed a little bit. They just didn't keep the ball for long periods, and when they had it, they just didn't harm Chelsea enough. They didn't find superiority anywhere in the pitch. They were just a little bit impatient, and that is what's happening to Manchester City. It did happen in Europe, and it happens in the Premier League as well. They're happy to just do direct football, but they struggle when they have to stop and pause and think about the game a little bit. Normally, in normal circumstances, well, you would imagine that that's enough to beat anybody, as we've seen with the stats. Have a look at the table. But against Arsenal, an Arsenal that's weak at the back, I think, yes, they will be able to score in direct football, but I think Arsenal can take advantage of that as well. I do see a high scoring game here. I do see Manchester City scoring 2-3 goals perhaps, and I see Van Persie scoring as well, but I see Manchester City getting the 3 points. Arsenal, yes, they are going up in the table. They are maturing as well. They do still look like a one-man team. Van Persie, of course, and even though he'll score, I think Manchester City could end up winning perhaps 3-1, something like that. We will see. And then the last one would be a game in Italian football, in Serie A, Lazio Udinese, because that will be the game that I'll be watching at the weekend from that league. It's 4th against 2nd, 2 teams that don't score a lot, they don't concede a lot either. In fact, Lazio have only conceded 5 goals at home, and I think Udinese have only conceded around the same, 5 goals away. So how about a typical 1-0 victory for the home side for Lazio? I do think that they've got it in them to go up in the table, and they probably will beat Udinese here. So 1-0, how about that? Come back next week, Sportingbet customers, and let me know if I got it as wrong as you probably all think I will get it. Bye.